Hey everybody, welcome back to Eternal Midnight. I'm Chad. Santino, what's up tonight?
What's up, dude? How are you?
Good. All right, so on our last episode, we finished up with Santino's two favorites, Insurrection and Nemesis.
Really bad.
So basically what happened was after Nemesis came out, I mean, it bombed. Everyone hated it. Voyager had kind of petered out. Voyager was finished. Enterprise didn't really do anything. So Star Trek was just kind of dead. Like nothing was really happening. So then 2009, we got a movie just flat out called Star Trek. And I remember I was not into Star Trek really at this point, like at all. I knew nothing about it. I had heard about it. I saw that trailer of them like assembling the Enterprise, and I was just like, oh, you know, I kind of like, I prefer Star Wars, even though we were still coming off the prequels. But I was like, you know, I prefer Star Wars. I hope I said this, I hope all the Star Trek fans out there, I hope they get what they like, because I was like, this kind of looks cool. And so my dad and my brother and my sister wound up going to see it, and I didn't live with my parents at the time, so I didn't get invited. And they went, and like probably 6 months later, my dad, they like brought it up. My dad was like, that movie was awesome. My brother and sister said the same. I'm like, why didn't I see this movie? So, so cool story into where I was at in life in 2009. I bought it. I hadn't seen it. And I threw a party that night. And it was just like, we were just all drinking. And I basically drank so much before the movie even started. I saw the first 2 minutes, and then I passed out for the rest of the night. So I just like, I think I like passed out in the bath. Yes, I passed out in the bathroom that night. That was one of those nights long ago when my house was the party house. So a few days later, I finally watched it, and I think Star Trek 2009 is awesome. What do you think of it?
I like it. I love it, actually. You know why?
Let's go.
Because it doesn't, despite it being a new story, it doesn't discount what happened in the original movies.
It had respect.
It had respect. Exactly. Because okay, I know a lot of people like I know a lot of people don't like the Kelvin timeline. I've heard a lot of things about it, but at least it can be divorced. If you don't like it, it can be divorced from the original movies. That's why I like it.
Yeah, because it's a new timeline, which, you know, that's why it works, because it's not these are not sequels to the original movies or the Generations movies. Or I mean the Next Generation movies. This is its own rebooted timeline with time travel that disrupts what should have been, and we get something completely different. And it's like, you know what? People can overall, I don't think the Kelvin timeline is anything that special. It lacks a load of charm that the original movies had.
Right.
And it lacked getting to know the cast like people could have, at least with the TNG movies. But it's like, at least with this, it is its own thing. So it's kind of hard to, at least with this one, it's kind of, you can't really compare this to anything that's come before it.
Yeah, the whole idea behind the Kelvin timeline is that it's a whole new thing. And I mean, like, shit, Leonard Nimoy as Spock comes back and says, no, that original timeline still happened. Like, I know, I was there. This is something new. So, like, right then and there, like, that's already doing something that Star Wars never had the balls to do. If you're going to ruin the story, at least make it, like, a different dimension or something.
You're going to ruin the story. I wouldn't say they ruined anything with this one. That some of that might come next. We'll get to there in a little bit. Even though I do like Into Darkness, I don't care. But let's just. But no, like, I do too. But it's got shit wrong with it. There's no questioning that.
Yeah, it has. But there was one thing I did like about it. Okay. Besides.
Well, let's stick with this movie. Let's stick with this movie first.
Yeah,
let's finish this movie before we jump there.
No.
So what I like about this one is it gives us a nice throwback to the original episode of Star Trek by giving us Pike actually being in charge of the Enterprise before Kirk. I thought that was a pretty cool idea.
And I like Bruce Greenwood as Pike.
He's always awesome. He's awesome in everything he's in. That guy's just got like a voice and a face that I could seriously like still see as a military commander.
Right, exactly. Here's a really controversial thing. I get he's hated a lot, but I like Zachary Quinto as Spock, new Spock.
I still prefer the original Spock, but Quinto definitely brought something extremely special to the role, I thought.
Yeah, I like Zachary Quinto as Spock, and like as a younger Spock. I mean, like, Leonard Nimoy will always be the iconic one, and he was always like the wisest and like the one who had like he was emotionless, but he still had that care for his team. And yeah, Spock wasn't that at this point, but I did like him, and I also like Zoe Saldana as Uhura. She was cool, and okay, Chris Pine as Kirk. Okay, this is a very different Kirk. From watching the original and 6. Yeah, Kirk is very different here because he's like a Han Solo-ish type here in this new Kelvin timeline. But you know what?
It worked.
It worked, and another underrated part, John Cho as Sulu. I liked him. I really did. Like, yeah, I miss George Takei, but like, you know what I mean?
Well, it's like George Takei's Sulu and John Cho's Sulu, they're night and day difference.
Yeah, exactly.
George Takei almost had like George Takei, like, he always kind of had just like a little bit of like a suave to him. He always felt kind of like he always kind of felt like the Lando Calrissian of the crew, if that makes sense.
Right.
And this guy, John Cho's version just didn't, which that's fine. Again, they're doing something different, which I have no issues with. It's just, which it almost comes down to I don't think anybody did a bad job. It just comes down to which version appeals to you more, or which new iteration popped at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and honestly, like being intro to Star Trek with the Kelvin timeline, because Into Darkness was the first movie I ever. I did like this crew. I mean, like, okay, yeah, I get it. I get the original, and yes, I do prefer it. But this crew, this Kelvin timeline crew, is not as shit as a lot of people say it is.
No, they're not. They weren't shit until Beyond, in my opinion.
And also, but you know what makes this movie for me? Nero. Eric Bana.
Nero was awesome.
Badass. I love his weapon. I love the red matter they're using. The black hole when they destroy Vulcan. Shit. That is intimidating. I mean, like, that's like more intimidating than the Death Star.
That ship was fucking awesome. That ship was just like, okay, the scene when they're coming out of warp speed, or out of warp, and the entire fleet has been destroyed above Vulcan. Like, that right there, like, obviously the battle against the Kelvin truly showed the power of that ship, which, correct me if I'm wrong, it was called the Narada.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that was the power. And I don't care what anyone says. The intro to this movie is one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah,
it's got everything. It's got suspense. It's got badass action. It's got a big emotional hook with Kirk's father sacrificing himself. The intro to this movie is one of my like all-time favorite movie intros.
Chris Hemsworth as Kirk's father was awesome. Like that, like when I watched it like the first time in like 2015. Damn, that was like, it's Chris Hemsworth. You're
You're like, look how small Thor was.
Yeah, yeah, holy shit. But yeah, exactly. It was. Yeah, exactly. What made this movie was because the fact that Nero was a badass, and that his goals were understandable. Like he wasn't just bad guy for sake of bad guy. He was like, okay, yeah, I get where you're coming from. It's wrong. It's very wrong, but I can understand.
Yeah, because it's like, why? It really was crazy. I mean, why would you destroy Vulcan in the past for something that happens hundreds of years in the future?
Exactly. Yeah,
It's messed up, but it's like that's what makes him a cool villain.
Yeah, like the people who wronged you on Vulcan, they're not born yet. You know, that doesn't count.
Right. Or if they are born, they're children.
Yeah, so you're gonna kill kids, really?
Hey, and he did. But again, that's what makes Nero badass. And I also love that scene at the end when he and his ship are getting sucked into the black hole, and Kirk is like, "We will, get ready and we'll help you." And he's just like, "What?" Oh, I don't even remember the exact line, but I just love the way Bannon delivered it. I would rather rot in agony than accept help from you. It's like, this is a bad guy who just says, piss off. He's just a badass bad guy to the core. I agree. Nero was fucking awesome.
Nero's badass, and then like I even like I forgot to mention Simon Pegg as Scotty. Great choice.
Yes. That was great.
Great choice.
Just it's funny. The more I think about it, it's like I really can't think of I'm not saying this movie's perfect. I'm struggling trying to find problems with it.
Yeah, exactly. Also, because I like a lot.
Oh, and we forgot one of your favorite, most versatile actors is in this.
Who?
Bones.
Right? Yeah. Fuck, Carl Urban. Carl Urban's in this. That guy's like in every franchise. He was in.
And he's always good.
He's always good. He's in Marvel. He's in DC. He's in Lord of the Rings, and he's in Star Trek. Like, that guy's always badass. Carl Urban as Bones was awesome. I can't believe I forgot about him. Yeah, this was the first time.
I was like, we were like going over the new cast, and I'm like, all right, I was like, we gotta find some. I was like, what? We forgot to bring him up, but I'm like, what's? So yeah, I can't think of many issues, and everybody's pretty much seen this movie, so and incorporating Leonard Nimoy into it was genius.
And incorporating what?
And bringing Leonard Nimoy into it was genius.
Leonard Nimoy, the whole point of Leonard Nimoy coming into it was to show, which I love, was to show that no, your six that you love, the original, it still
happened. This is not a remake.
Yeah, it's just another timeline, another dimension. It's just for people who want to be introduced into Star Trek more, which is fine. You know why? Because, you know why? Because it doesn't discount what happened in the original six. It doesn't.
Yep. It doesn't erase anything. It doesn't undo anything. All of the original movies, all of the original shows, they still happened. So it's like, that's the biggest respect that I feel like JJ could have given to Star Trek. And my hat was off to him when he did this. Obviously, that's changed in recent
Why didn't he do that for
days.
Star Wars? We'll never know. But
well, he could have, but another fella who he hates came along and ruined everything, but that's another story.
But anyway.
But yeah, overall, Star Trek 09, awesome movie. I genuinely love everything about it.
Also, I can't leave this review without saying my favorite scene from Star Trek 2009, which I absolutely love, and when I rewatch it, I was like, that's still awesome. Is when Kirk eggs on Spock, and Spock hits him and gets mad, and after that he says, "I've been compromised. I have to take Kirk, you take the captain's chair." It's like, yes, because Leonard Nimoy gave him the weakness of like, he just watched Vulcan get destroyed. So he's emotionally.
That scene was
That
what I
scene's
liked
so
about that scene too was it was like the music was building. You could see like he was about to kill him, and just wasn't stopping. And the only thing that stopped him was his father. It was just like the tension just building, and then Spock. It's just like then he lets him go, and it's like, shit. Remove me from duty. I'm stepping down. Well, who's in charge? Pike made him first officer. And then Kirk sits in the chair and gets him ready to head to Earth for the battle. Oh, and that scene at the end, too. When you think when young Spock is in old Spock's ship heading for the Narada, and he's been fired upon, and the Enterprise just comes the hell out of warp speed and shoots every single one of them out of the sky.
Oh, that was awesome.
And then Spock rams the ship into the Narada. The red matter ignites and sucks the whole thing into a. I love 2009. I love everything about it.
2009 is badass. I love Star Trek 2009. It was awesome.
So, Into Darkness. What was your thoughts? Now, okay, I remember. Okay, now this is weird. I saw Into Darkness opening weekend. I walked out absolutely loving it. I looked at no reviews, nothing. I walked out. I told everyone I loved it, and about a week later, the rest of the world was like, "We hate this film," and I was like, "I love this movie." I still do.
Okay, Into Darkness holds a special place in my heart. You know why? Because Into Darkness.
Your first one.
Into Darkness. I watched Into Darkness because I was at my grandmother's house in the province. She had no Wi-Fi, so the only form of entertainment was TV. So I caught Into Darkness on HBO with my brother. And we watched the whole thing from beginning to end. And the minute that happened, I bought the DVD like a day after. Because Into Darkness is fucking badass. I don't care what anyone else says. I love Into Darkness. I was so shocked when I told him, like, have you seen Into Darkness? It's really good. Like, it's one of the most like best sci-fi films I've ever seen. I was like, yeah, but don't you know that people hate this movie? Like, they hate this movie. It's fucking
I know.
amazing. They hate this movie.
And I've seen people be like, and one of the biggest issues, I will give it, okay, they didn't need to copy one of them die, and they basically redid that whole scene from Wrath, and now you've seen it. Now you've seen Wrath of Khan, so it's like, now you see why some of the haters hate this film.
Yes,
you're like,
I see some of it. Like, yeah, okay, that makes sense why you'd be pissed about that.
Because it kind of, we almost should have known when JJ was going to Star Wars after this. We should have been like, well, he stole the biggest villain from Star Trek, and he stole one of the most emotional scenes, and he put them in his movie. We should have been like, he's going to do the same to Star Wars, isn't he? But that's neither here nor there. But, so we'll get there. We'll get there in a bit. But, so something people always seem to complain about, they're like, Benedict Cumberbatch is Khan. Do people even know what Khan's name is? He's a British man. I'm like, yeah, and he was a Spanish man in the first one.
Okay,
well,
I'm sorry. I love Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan. I don't care.
So do I.
I do. I mean, like, okay, because Benedict Cumberbatch made Khan his own. It'd be one thing if like, and I get, and I know the argument, like, okay, like, Khan coming back is like, it's just pandering to the old fans and like, fan service and fan bait. I was like, okay, no, fan service and fan bait is bringing the Emperor back in episode 9 when he probably.
Yeah, that was pandering to the fans.
Khan coming back in the new timeline as a different guy is not pandering at all, because like I said, the original still happened. It still happened. Yeah. Like, your Khan that you like is still existing. This is just a new Khan from a different dimension.
Yeah, the Khan that died in Wrath of Khan did not get resurrected.
Exactly.
This is a new iteration of him. And he even has a different origin of being brought into this new world of, he was found by Starfleet, not Kirk this time. And he was used to make weapons for the war, which we'll get to that at the end of the movie, because it should have gone somewhere and it fucking didn't. And that's why I hate the end of this movie. But it's like, just no, he was still Khan. He was still like old Spock said when they called him. He is brilliant. He's ruthless, and he will not hesitate to kill any one of you.
Yeah.
Did you find a way to beat him? Great cost.
Yeah, at great cost. Exactly. I love that. I love
Now,
that. Like
real quick,
now I can like look back and like, oh, that.
I was gonna say, nostalgia-wise, do you remember thinking, what does that mean when you first watched this, or no?
Yeah, I did actually. It's like, what the hell does that mean? Like, did something happen? And like now it's like, oh yeah, because Spock died. I was like, it's like when you watch Mission Impossible Fallout, and then when I made you rewatch all for February. Now the meeting with Julia and Ethan in Fallout hits more, doesn't it? Right?
Definitely.
Exactly.
Great comparison.
Now it's like when Spock says like, oh, when young Spock says, oh, did you defeat him? Like, yeah, at great cost. I was like, what cost? I was like, and that silence, I was like, oh, now that makes sense. But the thing is, Benedict Cumberbatch is kind of like, everyone, it's like, it's not even fan service because he's not like, it's not like he's trying to imitate.
He's not trying to be Ricardo Montalban. He didn't give any of the grand speeches. I will chase him round the moons of Nebula. Revenge is a dish best served cold. He doesn't say any of that. He makes this character his own, which again, just separate it. It's fine. Don't let that ruin the movie for you. Let other things ruin the movie for you.
And honestly, like, my favorite scene is when he annihilates all those Klingons, and he says, "How many torpedoes are on there?" Like, huh? How many torpedoes? I was like, 30. I surrender. I was like, shit.
You know what, dude? Those Klingons looked fucking awesome.
Yeah, they did. They did, actually. They did.
Yeah, I agree. Those interrogation scenes with Khan, I thought were great too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And even the fact that, okay, I am gonna sound like, what the hell, Sandy? Like, what are you thinking? And I was like, well, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. This might be controversial, but I did like that inversion of Kirk and Spock.
I think emotionally, they pulled it off.
Yeah, it's like, because you had an opening scene of like, because remember, this is a new timeline where Spock is not exactly very open with his emotions, like, compared to the original timeline, right? So you have the opening scene of the volcano. You have Spock stopping at the volcano and freezing, and he reported Kirk, and Kirk gets the Enterprise taken away from him, and all that. I was like, okay, that happened, and why did that happen? And now we get the payoff. It's like, oh, because like when Kirk goes in and kills the radiation, and you have Spock on the other side. This time we're gonna see Spock's reaction. It's like, I do like that. It's like, like Spock, the reason why I saved you in a volcano and I violated the Prime Directive is because you're my friend, and I don't want people to die. I don't want my friends to die. And when Kirk dies and Spock lets out the God, I felt it. I did, honestly. I mean,
and just boom. It's like, what I like about this movie too is it's like, we did have that emotional scene of Kirk's death, and it's all intertwined with, I don't care what anyone says, some really damn good action. The Enterprise falling apart, and like, you got to give it to them. At least, like, they knew. I think to the best of my memory, the self-destruct was disabled. So Spock was ready to go down with the ship, and he ordered everyone to leave. And Sulu even like locked himself in. He's like, "We're not going anywhere. We're with you, sir."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. One of those. It's like, and even like when Khan fights Spock and Spock uses that Vulcan pinch, and you can tell in his face like he's so mad because Kirk died. It was like,
and Uhura had to talk him down. He was about to kill him.
Yeah, exactly. He was so mad, because Spock not showing emotion for Kirk and not caring for him, but when he died, it was like, okay, yeah, I did care for him. He was my friend, and now he's dead. Well, for like 5 minutes. The worst.
Because all right, what other positives do we got before we dive into the negatives?
The Klingons are cool. The action was awesome. And Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan was badass. And
Come on, RoboCop was in this movie, dude.
yeah,
Admiral Marcus.
and Admiral Marcos was awesome. That being
I mean,
said,
his plan was fucked, even though his ship was fucking incredible.
yeah,
I love how that thing
that
was
was
like
so
twice the
sexy.
size of the Enterprise.
And
His plan was a mess, but it was kind of like
what?
I don't know. I can't applaud him, but I can't condemn him. It's like they're on the verge of war, and he's like, either we just start it and get it over with, or we get too weak and we wind up losing. It's one of those situations where it's like, I don't know what I'd do in that situation, so I can't. I think the way he was willing to sacrifice Kirk was kind of fucked out of all of his captains. Like, dude, send someone you hate. But also, so I don't know. But we forgot to talk about. We'll use this to segue into some of the bad. So I loved this character, Carol Marcus, Alice
Oh
Eve.
my gosh, yes.
She was
She
gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
but they didn't need to do that one scene of her where.
And that's what I was going to use as the segue. There was no reason whatsoever for that shot of her in her bra and panties.
Yeah, exactly.
Was she hot? Yes, but you know what? I didn't need that.
I didn't.
Sorry,
I did.
Sorry if that questions my like straightness or whatever, but it's like I don't need a random shot like that in the middle of something important happening. It rips you right out of the scene.
Exactly.
Like this isn't the same as that shot from Star Trek 09 when Kirk was making out with the green skin chick and she was in her bra and panties, because that was the scene we were in. Just randomly turn around while I'm changing, and then he turns around anyways, and she just like, they just do like a full frontal of her, and she's like, turn around. I'm like, what? Why was this here?
Yeah, exactly.
It was like the boner joke in WandaVision.
Exactly.
Why is this here?
It's like, yeah, what? Like, why, dude?
Why did you do this? So, negatives. What's your negatives of this movie?
There's just one really big one, but it's small. Okay, it's one, but it's huge. It's the fucking super blood. Like, what the fuck was that?
So stupid.
I was like, okay, no joke. The first time I saw it, I was like, I didn't know anything about Star Trek. I was like, is that normal in this universe? I was like, apparently not.
At that point, wouldn't you just drain Khan of all his blood?
Yeah.
Or find a way to like do that for every. And notice they never brought it up again after this movie.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
is just proof of just some of the awful writing of this film. The fact that was even considered to be in this.
There is some really awful writing. That's the only one, but like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's big. That's not one of those tiny little things that it's like, oh, it's like a small misstep. It's like, no, you screwed up the whole ending by doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, at least when they killed Spock, they had the balls to leave him dead in between movies. And they actually came up with they came up with, in my opinion, a pretty creative way to bring him back. He came back to life on a planet that was the definition of life. So it's like, in a mystical way, it made sense. This just, why did Bones randomly inject a tribble with Khan's blood? And then because it was dead, and then it came back to life. Wow. And you know me, I hate coincidences in movies. That is one of the biggest coincidences ever. Why would you randomly do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie's got some great action. I still enjoy the cast. And just overall, I do enjoy this movie, but that ending, I'm sorry. It doesn't ruin the movie for me, but it's just like every time I watch it, that ending kind of gets harder to watch because I'm like, you screwed up that ending so badly.
Exactly. I do not like it. That's the one thing it's one thing, but
It's huge.
It's really too huge for us to leave alone. It's like, it would have been, I wouldn't be opposed to Kirk dying. And
Yeah. And then find a different way to bring him back at the end of the third movie or something, I guess.
Exactly.
Find some other way. Find some aliens that can do something. I don't know. They easily could have found some way to, like, I don't know. To bring him back, we need a relative of his. Oh, all of his family is dead. And then they find some way to do time travel, and they can incorporate Shatner into it. So they get Shatner, and they bring him, and they're able to take some of his blood, and they bring him back somehow. I don't know. It would have been a cool way to see Shatner and Nimoy side by side again.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they just...
So
but no, with Star Trek Beyond, what did we get?
Star Trek
Pointless
Beyond.
nothingness.
Segueing to Star Trek Beyond after rewatching it, yeah, not good.
It's not bad, but it's just it's I don't remember anything about it.
It's a meh. That's the best thing. There's only two things I like about it, and the rest is just forgettable. It's not that the rest is bad. It's just that the rest of it is forgettable. And that is the two things I like about it is, one, I like Jayla.
Yeah, they gave her a badass design, and she was a cool character.
Yeah, I like Jayla, and I like them using sabotage at the end, and they're disrupting that whole hive thing. Other than that, this movie is really, really fucking forgettable. Like
it reminds me of. It's almost like every of these like 3 timeline groups of movies has their just like middle of the road, like, what was the point of this kind of movie? Like in the original series, it was Final Frontier, which was just okay. This was random. And then in the Next Generation, it was Insurrection. And while that was random, it was still cool. It was better than this. And this was just, okay, and the thing that I hate, I think the thing that really bugs me on my watch of this, and I think you'll know what I'm talking about, was, okay, so remember how Kirk was just kind of like, oh, I'm thinking of getting out of the captain's chair, and I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, Kirk did that. Kirk, like, sat and questioned his age in Wrath of Khan. That was like, what, 15, 20 years after the 5-year voyage?
Right.
He didn't question it during the 5-year voyage. Why would he question his age? He's like supposed to be like late 20s, early 30s, and he's sitting there, oh, I'm too old to be a starship captain.
Yeah.
No, what are you talking about?
That was so bullshit.
It was pointless. It was literally, that was like them trying to do another callback to the old movies, and they just flopped hard at that one. I'll take everything with Khan over that stupid idea.
Right.
Idris Elba as the villain.
I liked him. He was serviceable, but he wasn't as memorable as Nero or as Khan.
He didn't really do anything. He was just kind of a generic-looking monster. Which, sorry, I watched the movie. I zoned out. Why does he look the way he does?
Because he, if I remember correctly, he was mutated.
Well, then why did he mutate back randomly at the end?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I tried paying attention, but it was just like, this movie was just so dumb. It was just, I just didn't enjoy it. It was just it's just like such a shame that this is what ended Star Trek again. Why do so many why can't franchises end on good notes? Like The Undiscovered Country. That was a great movie to end those 6 movies on. Like, imagine if Final Frontier had been the final movie.
Oh my God.
But no, we got a good movie to end that. The Next Generation had probably the worst of all of them so far.
Yeah.
As its end with Nemesis. And then this one just ended on just another bland nothingness. Like, yeah, I guess some of the visuals were cool. Just the plot was just stupid.
The plot was bad. It's really bad.
and it's just yeah, just and watching the Enterprise fall apart, just I don't know. It just kind of it did. I don't know how I felt during it. I'm still
I had
torn.
no
What
love for the Enterprise falling because I've seen it so many times already.
it's like I get what they were going for, but I don't think they did it right. And
They didn't, right? They
I
didn't.
mean, it meant a little more to me than watching the Enterprise fall apart in Generations,
Right.
because that was pretty bland. This was, I guess, a little better, but only because they spent so much longer on it.
Right.
But otherwise, just yeah, JLo was cool. The plot was stupid, and just
The only thing I
is
like
it just me? Did everybody just seem tired to you?
yeah. I felt like they were kind of done.
Like nobody felt like they wanted to do this movie.
Like the only thing I like about it was Jayla because I like Sophia Botella, and they used sabotage. That's it.
Yeah, and I guess what's his face's the bad guys drones were kind of cool. It was kind of an inventive idea.
Yeah.
But other than that, just yeah, this it's a shame. I didn't watch this in theaters because I watched that trailer and I was like, this is a completely different tone
I actually
than the
watched it
first
in
two.
theaters because that was my first Star Trek movie. And
Did you regret it or no?
No, I didn't regret it because I was never really into Star Trek. But after seeing all of this, then yeah, it's bad.
Ooh. Well, and it's sad because don't forget, Anton Yelkin died right after it.
Oh yeah. He died in the car crash. That was one of his last movies.
Which is sad because it's like he was definitely an actor who I could have seen.
Chekhov was cool. And I
doing
wanted
a
to see
lot.
more of him. I wanted to see more of Anton Yelchin's Chekhov.
If you want to see a movie with him in it, by the way, that I think you would actually enjoy, because it's got Alexandra Daddario in it, and I know you love her, right?
Yeah.
Watch Burying the X.
Oh yeah.
So basically, it's awesome. So basically, sorry for a tangent real quick because there's nothing else to say about Beyond. Yeah. So Burying the X, he's dating this chick who's kind of like annoying, and then she gets killed. She dies, and then he starts hanging out with Alexandra Daddario, and then his girlfriend. No, she died right before he was about to break up with her. So he's like, oh, thank God, I don't have to break up with her now. So then she randomly comes back as a zombie and just kind of like moves back in with him, and he's like, oh shit, I'm kind of like, in his head, he's like, shit, I'm seeing Alexandra Daddario, but how do I break up with my zombie girlfriend? It's actually really cool. I think you'd like it. You'd really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
So, Beyond, closing thoughts, anything for it?
For Beyond. It was nice when I watched it, but after that, it was just like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I picked it up for $3 at the used shop. It's part of my collection, but it's probably going to be another like 6-7 years before I ever watch it again.
Yeah.
So that's about it. So I guess this was kind of a shorter episode. What did you think of the Kelvin timeline overall?
I like the Kelvin timeline. I like 09 Into Darkness, surprisingly, but of course there's gonna be flaws. Beyond was like a really bad way to go out, but overall 09 had very great cool ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really just more of like Beyond just killed it, which sucks,
sadly. So that wraps it up. So, yeah, we've covered all the movies. So, guys, join us in a few days. We're going to go over a couple rankings for this franchise because I think with 3 different groups of movies, they kind of all deserve their spot to shine, where we rank each, where we're going to rank, obviously, all the films as one ranking, but we're also going to rank each individual little series within the overall franchise. So, tune in for those in a few days, and then Santino will tell us at the end of that episode how we're going to close out the month.
All right.
So, guys, this is Chad. Have a good night.
Good night.